What can I play you, Bob? Do you know this?
No, I didn't get that one.
Goodbye, pork pie.
Oh, okay, yeah, right. What?
Jeff Murphy tried to teach me to play the trumpet when I was 17. Later on, he made a movie called Goodbye Pork Pie, based on a tune by Charlie Mingus called Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, a tribute to Lester Young. Anyway, I'm on the road now and doing my own little pork pie through New Zealand, catching back on my memories in my life down under. I pulled off at one point to take a shot of Mount Ruapehu, which was covered in cloud and I couldn't see it, but I saw on the other side of the road was a place called Smash Palace, which was another movie made in New Zealand in the early 80s and was the beginning of New Zealand's film revolution. My first stop was at my sister's house in Wanganui. Jeanette and Rob were active in the Wanganui art community and doing a lot of stuff themselves. Rob did a nice portrait of me and Jeanette showed her skills with doing ballet dances and birds. Wanganui is a river town, and so we took a trip up the Wanganui River on a historically refurbished paddle wheel river steamboat. The riverboat was beautifully restored, and it was quite a pleasure to see all the mechanics operating down there in the engine room, which got pretty hot when guys were stoking it up with coal to keep up the steam, keep that boat moving up the river.
A European tourist to Wanganui, I'd take them on the boat.
You walk down a tunnel and then take an elevator up to the top of the hill.
I could get a couple more people in.
I think it's the weight thing.
Yeah, it's more weight than anything.
Well, exactly, it wasn't fair. No. Woman can do anything.
Of course they can. Press buttons as well as the man anyway.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And growl.
And then you get a great view of Wanganui from one of the towers that's up on the top of the hill. Yeah. Yeah, this is good enough. The riverboat steamer. Jeanette's grandson Brad and his beautiful girlfriend. The flora and fauna of Wanganui was pretty spectacular. Lots of water, lots of rain in the river, all probably contributed to it. The number of monarch butterflies was spectacular, and Rob did a portrait of himself being covered in monarch butterflies. Wanganui had a beautiful lake and bird sanctuary, which was quite a pleasure to walk around and see all the different wildlife.
Such cheeky birds. Oh, look, it's posing. Oh, it's got something in their mouth.
One year we came down here and they had their little babies with them and we were up the top and they were to us. We had to go down. She's got one under her wing there.
That's called a duck tent. Duck tent?
Yeah, he's a sport, hasn't he? So he get rid of these ones are not real stuff. That's the real stuff. And he's been talking with one of the white ones. Yeah.
That's the Australian expression,
I had Rob show me around his garden, which was really quite prolific, all the different things he had growing.
That's a fruit tree we put in.
Wow.
That's a plum tree.
Yeah,
This is a wild, there's a wild plum there.
yeah.
See wild plums on it?
Yeah, the little ones, yeah.
And this is just going through our bush. Climbing through, up the hill, the wild things there. This is a lance-wood I'm holding on to.
Huh,
A local tree.
yeah. Coming out through this pathway and into the overall garden shot. And then I'll pan down towards the chook house and then around. Yeah. Avocados. Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. No, that's good. That's good, yeah.
Below away.
There we go. Leaving Wanganui, we stopped at Otaki Beach just to have memories of Mum and Dad and all the good times that we had there when we visited with them. I also took a picture of Lisa in the same spot that I took of her 30 odd years ago when she had Vito as a baby boy. Leaving Otaki, there was a mothball fleet of Wellington City buses, looking about as old as the ones that I used to ride when I lived in New Zealand 40 years ago. Next stop was Wellington to see my sister Lucille and catch up on memories and see how things were going for her. Paul Weatherspoon was my host while I was in Wellington, and Paul took me around a lot of places and made it really easy for me to see a lot of old friends. A ride on the Wellington City cable car seemed to be a thing to do, seeing we come from San Francisco. Not quite as complex as the San Francisco cable car, but quite a fun ride.
get off the telephone, try across the bridge and get the other car up if you wish.
Took a quick look at downtown Wellington and then walked up towards the Bolton Street Cemetery, which now has a freeway cutting through it. Bolton Street Cemetery had sweet memories for me because 50 years ago I made a little experimental cowboy movie when I was learning how to make films. Botanical Gardens. I remember when I was filming Lady Bird Johnson and got a little too close and the Secret Service guy started to grind on my instep for getting too close to the First Lady. Wilton's Bush had a lot of beautiful examples of New Zealand trees and a great walk through the bush. I was lucky to catch a native pigeon sitting in the tree, I guess eating berries. Next stop was Jeff and Diane's to see the wonderful decorating job that Diane had done on the house and to catch up with an old friend and lover. Jeff had these awards up on his wall, and one of the stories he said was that the local university gave him a doctorate of literature, and yet he failed the school certificate English exam. I was pretty pleased that both these lovely ladies took a copy of my Deco Angel. Jeff played a few licks on his trumpet for me, and I felt like I was back in my teenage years in New Zealand. I stopped up at a place in Brooklyn called the Penthouse Cinema, which in my day was called the Vogue Cinema, and that's where I got my first start in filmmaking, working for a gentleman called Stan Weems, who's I discovered much later on was what's his name, Russell Crowe's grandfather. I stopped and saw my old friend Hugh MacDonald, who made the New Zealand Expo movie. This is New Zealand, and it's still around today. Very difficult to get it onto a DVD because it was shot in free screen system. I stopped to see John Reed and talk about John O'Shea, who was my mentor and a very, very important person in the history of New Zealand filmmaking. From John's place, I could get a view of my old neighborhood and where I grew up and all the memories that it enclosed from the time that I was 6 until I was 20. From high up on Mount Victoria, I was able to get a panorama of the whole city of Wellington, including the harbour. My last stop in the Wellington area was with my nephew Clive and his wife Jeanette, and we went to a wearable art show and had a little fun with the models there. We stopped at the mast monument for the shipwreck Wahine, and then we ran into a guy who had a story to tell about survivors and rescuing them on the day of the
Lady
wreckage.
coming on a life jacket. I reached out and I grabbed her by the arm and pulling her. The force of the water started to take, and I lost my footing. I rose up with it, and so I couldn't hold it, so I let her go. I had to let her go, and so I could get out. And the next wave brought her back in. She smashed right in front of me, and all the head split open.
Oh shit!
Just like an eggshell.
Yeah.
And there was blood and stuff. You know, it was just a mess. And then I looked out in the water, and another younger lady there, and I grabbed her. I pulled her up on the beach and said, okay, you'll be fine now. And I went back into the water and just carried on. And then we had the 40th anniversary here in 2008. And I met that lady that I rescued on the beach around there. She'd been in Australia all her life, never come back.
So you didn't hear about the one that got on the rock?
As to who that was.
She remembered how we recognised each other was the fact that she was in the water and she remembered the blood and the
Oh, yes, on the
rain
water.
stuff
Yeah.
coming over her.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't know how that one got on?
No, she was
She
smashed.
died.
Her head was
She died right
smashed.
then.
Oh,
Yeah.
Her head just cracked like an egg.
Yeah.
I was on the other side of the bay that day, filming the whole catastrophe for Fox Movietone News. And later my dad did a lithograph of the sinking of the Wahine.